So here you see it, the result of 7 months of work and about a year on the hard in storage in St. Mary's, Georgia. St. Mary's is fairly close to Jacksonville. You can see that the holes are painted, the bottom paint is on, the new engine is in place, the new dinghy's in place, the shade canopy is in place, and I'm feeling as nervous as a first-time father in the delivery room. There's a huge amount of work that's been done, and I don't know what I did right and what I did wrong. Are the through holes going to leak? Is the engine going to work? Are the instruments going to work? Is the fuel system that I put together going to work? About the only thing that I know for sure is that I'm not going to spend another hurricane season in the south. So instead, we're going to be up in the Chesapeake Bay in Deltaville for the season. So we've got about 800 miles to go in a couple of months, and we'll figure it out. When I originally blocked her, I had some flexing in the hulls and added these additional supports, as you can see here. Those supports took care of the flexing, but I was really nervous about how to lift her in the slings to get her back into the water. So here you can see me knocking on the hull to try to determine exactly where the most solid place to lift her is. You can be sure I was listening for any kind of cracking sounds as she got lifted up. This is an iconic St. Mary's boatyard scene. Rocky, who is mechanically gifted, is at the controls. The boat's in his care. His son is 5 or 6 years old. He's driving the cart around, a couple of dogs running around. I'm in the background, pacing around, nervous as a cat. Here I'm cleaning the holes to put on the last 3 or 4 coats of body paint in the areas where the stands were. And here we are, fueling for the very first time. I gathered everybody I could find at the boatyard for the renaming ceremony. Here we've got the champagne, we've got the trident, and Lee is reading a script from her cell phone. I don't know how Neptune or Poseidon feel about smartphones, but here we are. Here Lee is making up for her lack of propriety with over-the-top gravitas. And the reveal. The reaction from the hushed crowd was, "What the hell is cottywomple?" To clear up the mystery, the definition of cottywomple is to travel in a purposeful manner towards a vague destination. I'm going to call this the before photo. There's a good-looking girl and a lucky dweeb. Here we're in the water and we've been underway for a couple of minutes, and I'm amazed it's working. It's actually working. Lee's very happy and excited to be out of the darn boatyard and underway. We're actually on the water and moving. I'm starting to relax and reflect a bit on all the work that went into this, and I'm feeling like, yes, it really was worth it. Our friends Kenny and Rhonda are following us northward. They're newbie sailors, just like I was a couple of years ago. To think that I'd be leading someone up the ICW is quite a chuckle. We anchored in a small bay at the north end of Cumberland Island. The others said that they could see the famous horses on the beach, but I never saw anything that looked even remotely equine. It was totally worth it to build the shade canopy. It's so much nicer having shade and space in the cockpit. It was such a kick to be with newbies setting out on their very first adventures. We went ashore at this reserve or state park in Georgia, and it was a place where the men could look like men. This was a great anchorage where we waited out a good rainstorm. This is also a place where we saw 3 manatees, the 2 parents and their baby. Here we've got another rainstorm coming, and this is a barge that's stuck on the sandbar. You can see how small the channel is here. He's right next to the ICW marker. I asked him if I could help him with anything, and he chuckled and said, "No, but thank you." He managed to get free and passed us about an hour later. All this rain sure makes for some great skies. I think the ICW stretch north of Charleston is the shallowest anywhere on the ICW. We were fighting the current and a falling tide and decided to pull into the little harbor at a place called Deltaville. It's almost completely silted in and only accessible at high tide. The locals have made pets of some of the dolphins that frequent the area. A few days later, we pulled into Dallas Bluff Marina, where we visited with some friends and also wanted to work on making a wave diverter that you can see in a different video. That's a cement boat on the left, by the way. It's got lots of great stories behind it. I'll bet you could pick it up cheap. We got invited, or more like demanded, to a 4th of July party. That's Norman and Paul doing the honors to the steaks and apple pie, ice cream, peaches, and puppies. What could be more perfect? We had some awesome mornings, great afternoons, no crowds, good friends. This place is a real gem. I practiced looking like a nerd as I replaced the carburetor on our outboard. That really did the trick. It works great. I'm happy and amazed that all of these plans, all of these projects, all of these concepts are actually working. With those repairs finished, we're underway again. We avoided more rain and handled some of the inevitable challenges and got even more rain. Ate good food along the way. We pulled into Hilton Head because I heard it's a thing that you're supposed to do. I was 100% right because the Disneyland resort next door threw us a red, white, and blue reception. We continued northward, dodging rain and enjoying the journey, getting into the rhythm of life aboard again. We got even more rain as we continued north towards Myrtle Beach. The stretch between Georgetown and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is some of my favorite. For some reason, I had decided not to cut my hair until all the boat work was done and we were launched and underway. So this is the before picture. Here's the after picture where we're feeding some turtles at the Osprey Marina near Myrtle Beach.
I'm just like getting up the face. Oh God, he's got his sights on me.
We took a flight to shuttle our car from Dallas Bluff up to Myrtle Beach. With our new friends Elliot and Ann, who gave us a lift. If you love your instruments and chart plotter, you'll certainly love the inside of a light plane too. I love the radically different perspective of seeing our route from the air. This is Lee's first flight in a small plane, and she's loving it. That's Dallas Bluff, where we'd spent 4 or 5 days. Ann and Elliot lived in a community with their own private airstrip. It's great flying with someone who does this all the time. Here we're taxiing to Elliot's house. Here we are at Bird Island on the North Carolina-South Carolina border. We're still thrilled to have, for the very first time, a dinghy that doesn't leak. We hiked from the sound side to the ocean side and enjoyed the sun and frolicked on the beach and celebrated for a while before the rains returned. Once again, the rain is making for some pretty spectacular skies. It's a pleasure to be in the boat, dry, underway, be able to see out the windows, and the hatches aren't leaking hardly at all. We love these reminders of the precariousness of our journey and what other people enjoy. We waited out still more rain on a mooring ball at Carolina Beach. Underway again, we checked out the Ospreys, and the Ospreys checked us out too. Through more rain delays, we finally got the chance to raise the sails, which felt really good even though the winds were marginal. We stopped at Whitaker Point Marina for a few days. We love this place mostly because we have it almost completely to ourselves. The local fruits and veggies are really great, and we stocked up. All this rain is making for some really great sunsets and some pretty sad dinghies. We took some more time off the boat and went up to New Bern to check that out. Whenever there was a break in the weather, we'd make our way north, even raising the sails if we had a chance to, and also enjoyed lots of great sunsets. The water around here is tea brown with tannic acid, and it really makes you feel super clean when you bathe in it. We anchored in this perfect little spot, super quiet, off the Pungo River for a couple of days, just because it was so perfect there. Also waited out some rain, of course. This is where Lee got to meet her unicorn friend, Charlene, for the very first time. Lots of frogs came out and climbed up the side of the boat, too. Beautiful evening swims in the acidic water. We made it up the Alligator and crossed over to Collington Harbor near Kitty Hawk and tied up at my friend Richard's house and started in on guy things. Lee did some crabbing and was justifiably quite proud of herself. A short drive from Richard and Brenda's place, out on Bear Road, you'll see lots of bears. I didn't get any decent shots, but I assure you they're there. Lee's family vacations annually in OBX, so they got to meet Charlene too. I'd long wanted to see the Great Dismal Swamp, and with a stretch of dry weather, we went for it. The perfectly still water made for some confounding and mesmerizing experiences. We ran into logs 4 or 5 times, so Lee got bow duty to watch out for us. We were very popular with people who had driven to the Great Dismal Swamp Visitor Center. Here we had some engine problems, and I utilized the 8-horsepower 2-stroke Nissan outboard to push us at about 3.5 knots the rest of the way up the Great Dismal Swamp Canal. It's so overgrown in some areas that you literally have to weave back and forth to avoid hitting some of these branches with the mast. Lee fell in the water while pushing off with a boat pole while setting us up to enter one of these locks. Falling in the water in these kinds of situations is extremely dangerous because you could fall onto something and be stabbed. Fortunately, she was not injured, just really shaken up. The lockmaster there is a wonderful man. He was extremely consoling and helpful. We made it through the locks and into Virginia, where people expressed some strong political views. We got towed under a new kind of lift bridge and passed the first of the Norfolk naval shipyards. and into the downtown Norfolk waterside marina, where I tried to figure out what the heck was going on. We explored the area on our fold-up clown bikes and found some really great shops. I investigated some alternative marinas in the area, but they turned out to be a little bit questionable. After much ado and delay, a tech figured out it was simply carbon buildup in the engine, and with that we were off again, past the naval shipyards, hospital ships, cranes, and everything that goes with it. Within 45 minutes, the engine quit again, and I had to call for another tow. I guess you can tell I'm not too happy about this. When I got to a place where I could look at the engine myself, I took the cowling off, and one of the spark plug wires fell off. The tech hadn't connected it firmly enough. It was good to be getting out of Norfolk and away from all the commercial shipping and Navy ships. Just around the corner from Norfolk is Yorktown, where we met this outgoing submarine. Here you can see the gunboat, a submarine, and an old square rigger all in one shot. We're nearing Deltaville, and overall I'm very happy with the way things are working. I'm even feeling confident enough to let a friend steer on the Rappahannock. We went up the Croatoman River to play for a couple of days.
Look at that gal. She just pops it right in gear, and I bet she's going to give it some rabbit. More rabbit!
We found more fascinating storied damaged vessels here, and little tucked away houses too. Unbelievably, these are the highest cliffs that we've seen on the East Coast in the last 4 years. The little town of Urbana on the Rappahannock seems frozen in time. The summer wouldn't be complete without one more big dose of rain and wind, which we got at a dock in Deltaville. I love this stuff. The wind was enough to cause enough surge to submerge the fixed dock and also the yellow power cord. Deltaville is where we hauled out early because we have an opportunity for another adventure that we just can't pass up. We stripped Cottywomple, put her away, and we'll be back in the spring to continue north to Maine.